Now that we got that out of the way,
Haason Reddick, like what's going to happen? Like I just view this as a total.
Sure.
This is a mess right now to be happening in mid-August.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I've been through Jets camp. I've been through Eagles camp. And so you definitely get a global view of sort of what has happened here or where this is going. And I really think when this went sideways between the Jets and Reddick, it was he's acquired. He goes through the press conference, the initial press conference, where he was very complimentary of the situation. Like he looked like he wanted to be aboard. He made this remark about, being in there and whatever happens and all these different things. Right. And
which you have to say in that situation. Sure.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. But I think what ended up happening was the Jets were of the mind that, okay, we're going to negotiate. We're going to get this deal done, which is unusual. Typically teams, when they deal for a player like this, you do it with a contract in mind. And I think the Jets have taken some flack for that. But that is also why this was a 2026 draft pick. I think the Jets made this trade knowing, hey, there's some danger here because we still have to work out this contract. And I think the Jets, their approach was, we're going to deal for him. He's going to come into the offseason program and we will negotiate basically as we move up toward the season. And then what ended up happening was Reddick had the press conference, took his physical, and then wasn't part of anything. And I think I think it spoiled the milk a little bit. I think the Jets were like, wait a minute, this guy wants a top level pass rusher contract. He wants to be paid in the neighborhood of $25 million north a season, which puts him among the elites. And he's had a number of double-digit sack seasons. He's approaching 30. There's a number of reasons why Reddick wants that kind of a deal. But I think the Jets thought, we're going to do this with him taking part of our offseason program. And then it didn't happen. And I think for the Jets, it was like, wait a minute, we're not doing this kind of a contract negotiation if we can't have you on hand, taking part in things. I think they approached it from, this is just how this is going to go. And Reddick was of the opposite mind, saying, nope, I'm not doing anything. I'm not showing up. And so it created this stalemate where when I talked to a number of people who are involved in the trade and kind of where it's at now, it was like, this has become a pride thing, right? Where the Jets are like,
I was going to say, with you talking about it, does this seem a little petty? Like, this is just, you didn't show up to the off-season workout, so we're not, like, I get what you're saying. I totally understand where they're coming from, but at some point, put that aside. Like, you just got to get this done. You need this guy in camp. Like, this is a pass rusher you need on your defense.
They do. And Will McDonald did not develop physically, I think, this offseason the way that they had hoped. I think he would have added more bulk and been someone who, he needs to be a bigger player to be more of an every down player for them to open that opportunity to him. He reported very much at basically the same physique he had last season, which I don't want to say the Jets were disappointed, but certainly the thought process going into this offseason was that would come back, kind of a bigger, more physical, every down type of player. And I'm not sure that necessarily happened. So that puts a little bit of pressure on it. But I think the Jets, approaching it from their standpoint, we have a number of guys in the locker room who probably would want new deals. And now we're in a situation where, and this goes through all fans hate hearing this, but all front offices approach it this way. If a guy says, I'm not taking part in the offseason stuff after getting acquired, all these different things, and then now I'm not going to show up and I'm incurring fines and all this other stuff, the team approaches it like, okay, well, if we give into this, we've got 5 other guys who want new deals. Morgan Moses wants a new deal. There are a number of players who want new deals.
What happens when Sauce Gardner wants his? What happens when Garrett Wilson wants his?
Absolutely.
I get that. I totally get that. Let me ask you this, because just a very quick answer. Do you think Haason Reddick would just step away and not play football this year?
His contract will toll, so it would be a financial mistake. I mean,
So that said, what leverage does he have? If the Jets are serious about, we are not trading you, show up or else, he doesn't have any leverage, does he? He almost has to come in at some point.
He doesn't have any leverage until something occurs. Like, so let's say and right now, I'm telling you, just from talking to people involved in this, it feels like it's going to be into the regular season, or at the very least right to the doorstep of the regular season, where he will start to miss game checks for not reporting. And So I think the two things that would have to change for Reddick is, number one, there would have to be some veteran pressure inside the organization to lean on the front office and be like, hey, we got to get this guy in here. But the problem is there's no institutional memory for him. Aaron Rodgers doesn't know him. Like, even though Aaron Rodgers is going to talk to him and reach out and wants him there, it's not like this is a guy who's been in that locker room and people are, banging the drum the way they were for Chris Jones when he was holding out with the Kansas City Chiefs. Or he had, Chris obviously had the institutional track record there with the Chiefs, clearly. So he doesn't have that. So that's one. Or number two, let's say they go through the first week of the season and they get zero pass rush pressure in game one. And it's just like, hey, this is a huge hole now that needs to be addressed. Game one looked like a significant problem, and we have this pass rusher that ultimately we got to pay. So for it to change for Reddick, I think in terms of that leverage, because of these fines piling up, and he's going to go north of $2 million by the time the regular season starts. That's before game checks kick in. It would have to either be someone in that locker room, basically Aaron Rodgers, pressing and going, hey, can we please get this done? Or they play a game and it's just so clear they lack a pass rush.
But the opposite's true too. Let's say San Francisco, they go on the road, they beat the 49ers, which is possible. This is a very, very good team.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, Haason, we don't really need you. Like, it's your call. You want to come in and collect your money? That's cool. But we don't really I think it works both ways that way.
It does. Absolutely. No, there's no question. Look, there's risk involved here. And right now, the one that is incurring the heaviest penalty is Reddick, because he's losing money every single day at a $50,000 clip.
And it just seems like it's going to end up with him playing because he just has no other options if the Jets want to take this hard line.
And Frank, I will say this, talking to people in the organization, I asked a very specific question. I said, look, if this guy takes it all the way in the regular season, misses a game or whatever, is there a path back between these two sides? They feel like there is. They feel like, look, it's not going to be, the bridges aren't totally blown up. If this gets done and the money gets where, if there's a compromise where it needs to be, everything will be okay. But there's look, it's August 14th. There's a long way to go.
Yeah, long way to go. And I mean, pass rusher is one of those positions where I think you can join midstream. I think about Montez Sweat last year at the Bears, comes in, makes an immediate impact. Like you can, it's not quarterback, where you need this. Let me just ask you real quick before we move on. Just give me a prediction. You know people there. I won't hold you to it, but based on what you know, when does Haason Reddick report, or is it not with the Jets? What do you think happens here?
I don't think the Jets will deal him. I think they're going to hang on to him because they need him. And, I would be surprised if he missed game checks. So I think there's a chance that basically we're talking about the Sunday before the regular season begins, Haason Reddick ultimately ends up reporting. And if not, I don't think it goes any deeper than missing like one game check.
Which I think would be honestly a great resolution for the Jets. I think they'd be pretty happy with that, even if it takes Haason Reddick, 2-3 weeks to kind of get back in football shape and all that kind of stuff you need.